So today on Enlightened Conversations, our guest is Robbie Cornelius, who is a businessman, an open-minded entrepreneur, and also a self-mastery coach. Robbie, thank you for talking with us today.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to start off by asking you just a question that we talked about prior to this. You had a life-threatening situation happen to you when you were 7 years old.
Correct.
Can you tell me about
Yeah, so I feel like my journey consciously started when I was 7. So the incident happened when I was riding in the back seat of my mom's car.
that?
She was driving. We had just come from my aunt's house. And I was mad at her because she wouldn't let my cousin come spend the night with us.
Wow.
So I was staring out the window. We got to a junction in the road. The light was green for us, so we proceeded. Next thing you know, bam! I was struck in the face by a red Cherokee Jeep. The car spun around. And right across the street, there was a body shop. The owner of the body shop saw the accident happen. And I was hanging out the window of the car screaming for somebody to get me. And he was the one that pulled me out to safety and laid me on the ground. And I was rushed to the hospital, woke up in the hospital a few days later, head covered in bandages. Never felt any pain, though. The medication was very powerful.
Wow.
But I never felt any pain and got out the hospital. Those physical scars healed, but later I would experience emotional scars
Okay.
that would last a lot longer.
Did you ever experience any flashbacks as far as like maybe you're driving and you just picture that moment happening and you would just react or jump?
There was a point in life where I was kind of afraid to be, not necessarily to be in a vehicle, but when I first started driving, I remember myself always looking in my rearview mirror and thinking that somebody was gonna run in the back of me or whatever. That happened. It ended up happening, and again at a later point in life.
Do you feel like you attracted that?
I do. Yeah, I feel like I attracted that. But now, I'm not afraid of being in a car or driving or anything of that nature.
And like with your cousin not coming, I mean, do you feel like it was even better that he didn't come just because of that incident?
Yeah, it could have been. Maybe it could have been worse. Maybe
Right.
somebody could have died. I was the only person that was injured in that car accident, and I had a hole in my head the size of 2 golf balls. I was only 7 years old. Had to have plastic surgery to reconstruct portions of my forehead.
So where were the holes in your head? Where were
It was
they?
right in the center.
Right in the center.
Right in the center. Yeah, like it just peeled up.
Oh my god! And you had blood just gushing
Yeah,
down.
it was blood everywhere.
And I mean, if you look at your forehead now, you can rarely see. You can't even see anything.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Luckily, there was skin there, and then I think they pulled skin from another part of my body and put there as well. Hope they didn't pull it from my butt, because then I have a butt. I have
But
a
you would
butt
never
head.
know.
You never know. That's a butt head, literally.
Right.
But yeah, so that made my life experience very, very colorful. I realized how in the blink of an eye it could be over.
Right.
I actually saw myself laying there on the ground when I was waiting for the ambulance. I was in and out of consciousness.
Okay. Was it like an out of body experience where you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know what to call it until I got older, but
wow.
Yeah, I definitely saw myself laying there.
Wow. Okay, so you had that happen at the age of 7, and at the age of 27, you're still able to vividly remember it because every time you talk about it, you give the key details of a red Cherokee Jeep.
Yeah. I think that's very important. I always feel like incidences in life lead to other incidences, and if you backtrack and you see how different dots connected, you'll be quite amazed sometimes. So the fact that truck was red, I believe it played a significant part in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then, so you had that happen, and that's not it. Like when you were in high school, you dropped out of high school.
I did.
Okay, so can you tell us about that?
Well, from the moment, like I said, my physical scars healed, but I had emotional scars, not from the car accident, just in life. You know, my father was very abusive. He was an alcoholic, and when he drank, he had a temper. He would become very violent. He would beat on my mother. There would be times I would be in my room and be awakened in the middle of the night and hear screams coming from the other room. My mama crying for help, and I would have to run in there and help her. And one night I went in there and I jumped on his back to get him to get off of her. He threw me around. When I got back up, he hit me like I was a stranger. I was only maybe 12.
And this is your dad.
It's my dad. And I said, I'm gonna kill you. You know, I was very, very angry. I'm gonna kill you. I couldn't believe it. So long story short, I pretended that I had a gun and I did have one at one point at 12 years old. I was gonna take him out.
At 12 years old, you had a gun.
I was gonna take him out. But I pretended like I was going to get it. I didn't really want to get it because I knew that I had calculated in my head. I said, I'm 12 years old. At the worst case scenario, I'll get out of prison when I'm 20, 30 years old. I calculated this. And maybe they'll have sympathy for me being that he's such a violent man. But anyway, I wasn't able to get to my room. We ended up running out of the house in the middle of the night, staying in an abandoned building, waking up the next day to run to a phone booth to call my uncle. And my uncle came to pick us up. So I would go to school right after those crazy nights of fighting with my father, of watching my mother get her butt whipped, of running out of the house, staying in a car, staying in abandoned buildings, staying in the woods, staying under a house, running from my father, and would get up and go to school as if everything was normal.
Okay. Yeah. And that even just brings me to a point because, you know, when people say that they are staying in an abandoned home, some people, well, the term for that, I believe, is squatting. And a lot of the times, like if you're looking from the outside in, if you're just looking at someone or a family that's in an abandoned house, you're like, okay, why are these people squatting here? I need to call the police and get them out of here. But you never know what's the reason behind them being
or
there.
how long they've been there.
Or how long they've been there. So it may be a life-threatening situation that has caused them to be there.
Yeah, like last night we were a normal family, and tonight I'm in a house that doesn't belong to me, that's been closed up for I don't know how long. And I'm going to school in the morning. And I would go to school. Well, and the last thing was on my mind was schoolwork.
Right.
I don't want to hear about the Boston Tea Party. My dad just shot at me last night.
Very traumatic.
Where's your homework? I don't know where home is right now. You asking me about homework? You know, so school became secondary to me. Survival became the most important thing to me. Survival. Just trying to survive. Walking home from school from the bus stop and wondering, is this going to be the night that my dad flips out? Because he would have periods where he would go from, I remember one time he went 3 years without taking a drink. But we always lived on edge, wondering, is this going to be the night that he come home and act a fool? And, you know, you just never know. We ended up losing everything. He was a compulsive gambler. He would go bet on dogs. Like not fighting dogs, but he would go
racing dogs.
Dog racing. You know, there were one time we had 3-4 cars. Then all of a sudden we're living in a motel. We lived in a motel room for 2-3 years. 2-3 years. And there was a neighborhood behind the motel. And I remember getting off the bus and I would pretend as if I was walking to one of those houses, but I was actually going to the motel. When the bus bent the corner, I went to the motel. I didn't want the kids on the bus to know that I lived in a motel. The kids would, some of my friends would be like, "Hey, can I come over to your house?" Mm-mm. Not only is it a motel, there's a lot of roaches in there too.
Wow.
And when you cook, they come out.
Right, because they smell
They smell the food. We had so many roaches in our house. And I can laugh at it. We had so many roaches in our house, man, that my brother and I used to lay on our backs in our beds, and we would be like, "That's me right there."
Yeah, I'm playing the game.
Yeah, and if the roach went in a crack in the wall, we'll be like, "Yeah, I'm going to the club." I would pretend as if I was the roach going to the club. And if the roach made this little, you know how the roach like make his little butt, I would act like that was my car with hydraulics on it. You know, but that was his life for us. You know, it was full of roaches. You know,
but you guys made the most of it.
We made the most out of it.
Wow. So even looking back at all those traumatic experiences, and I mean, when you look back at your life, that's by any means not your normal, typical life.
Nah.
You know, that someone having to...
We thought it was. We just thought everybody lived like that. Everybody's dad was crazy. Everybody, you know, knew what death was or experienced it. Everybody, you know, everybody had a violent family. Everybody had roaches. That's just what I thought.
And see, that's the funny thing. I feel like when you're living a certain way, your perspective is automatically, well, everybody's living like this.
That's right.
Because you're not experiencing anything else.
Yeah.
But you now being a father, how has that impacted you, and how does it even feel to be a father?
Well, I left school, you know, I dropped out of the 6th grade mentally. It took me to the 9th grade to physically leave. So I physically left in the 9th grade.
But you mentally, you got your
I dropped out
done,
in the 5th, 6th grade.
But you still made it up to the 9th grade, even not being there mentally.
They pushed me up there.
Okay.
Not because I was a straight A student until like 5th grade.
Okay.
5th grade, I started going through so much at home to, you know, I just didn't do my work. Yeah. Not because I was dumb. I just didn't care. Yeah. Nobody could reach me, you know? So 5th grade, I made up my mind that I wasn't going to try no more. I didn't care. I'm like, this is what they want me to know about life? Like, I don't want to know that. I don't care about Pearl Harbor. I know it should be important to me, but I don't care about it. I don't think I'm ever use that. I need to learn how to survive.
Because I'm dealing with something right now.
Yeah,
this is not gonna help me.
That ain't helping me at all, you know? So it took, you know, I think it was a rule back then you couldn't stay back more than twice.
2 years.
Yeah, so I would stay back. And then I was like, well, I know they got to place me next year, so I really ain't going to try.
Wow. And
they would place me. And then I would stay back. And then I'm like, well, I know they got to push me up. So I did that.
Wow.
Yeah, like I just didn't even try. I had like a 12 in PE. And all you had to do was dress out.
Yeah.
You know, so I left school. You know, I just left. And I stayed until they stopped paying me. My father ended up dying on his birthday. August 6th. I think it was August 25th or something like that. But he died on his birthday. I was 16. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was working at Harvey's supermarket in the produce department. And came home from work, and my mom was having a barbecue outside with the neighbors. They were sitting by a fire. I went in my room to change clothes. Next thing you know, I hear like something loud coming through the house, a loud voice. I thought it was laughter. Later found out it was my mom crying because I walked in the room. The neighbor was holding my mom, and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, the neighbor said, "Tell him." Mm-hmm. I was like, "Tell me what?" "They just found your dad dead." And I was like, that initial shock was like, "What?" Mm-hmm. "Yeah, they found him dead in his apartment. Said he died yesterday. And they just found him today." Went to my room. I cried a little bit. Went to sleep. I thought it was a dream. Woke up. Everybody was in the house. And I remember going to his funeral. And as the pastor was talking, and I looked around, I saw all these people. Everybody's crying. Even my mom got her butt whooped for 16 years that I know of consciously. She's in there crying. I'm in there like this. Like, I don't have to fear him anymore.
Kind of relieved.
I'm relieved. Because prior to him dying, a few weeks before he died, my little brother went over to his house to stay the night. Mm-hmm. And he jumped on my brother. My brother was only 14 years old. And he loved my dad like no other. And he jumped on my brother because I think my brother was trying to keep him from leaving him in the house alone. He wanted to go out and get a drink or whatever else he was doing. And he jumped on him. And I called him. I said, I told you not to lay your hands on anybody that I love anymore. I told you I'm going to kill you. Well, life took him away before I can get to him. Me and my dad were on bad terms when he passed away.
You guys were on bad terms?
We were. We never got to make amends. You know, I was very angry at him. He took me through a lot, a whole lot. And long story short, it took me till I was 27 to actually forgive him. Years after he passed away. He passed away in I think the year 2000. So it took me
17 years.
It took me 17 years to literally forgive him. So I became a hip hop artist and I wrote music about the harsh realities I had been through. Mm-hmm. All of my music was about blame, anger, rage, frustration, animosity. Mm-hmm. I became very good at expressing myself musically. Started to take off and made a name for myself, but at the same time, I was making a name for myself in the streets. And started running with a group of people. I formed my own gang, and I became a blood gang member. Hence the red Cherokee Jeep. I don't know why. I just felt like that had something to do with each other. I feel like
somewhat of a connection.
Yeah, somewhat of a connection because that wasn't that gang didn't exist in the city. It was, Crips and Gangster Disciples. And I had an opportunity to join them, but I said, no, I'm gonna be the opposition.
Make my own team.
I'm gonna be the leader of my own team. Got with a couple people from California who actually came into town. But anyway, long story short, started running around, banging my head against the wall like a lot of young black teenagers do. Mm-hmm. And started watching a lot of people, it started out like, okay, you have a disagreement with this group, you fist fight. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. A group of guys fist fighting. And then next thing you know, somebody, he pulled out a knife at the fight. Like, you saw the knife he had? No, I didn't see it. All right, well, I got some for that. You come back with a bigger knife. Mm-hmm. They know you got a bigger knife. Like, okay, they come back with a bigger knife. And then somebody say, you know what? My dad got a gun. I'm going to bring a gun on them next time. Mm-hmm. So now we went from being this innocent group of people that was just trying to hang out and protect ourselves to a full-fledged gang. People getting shot, people doing things they shouldn't be doing. And I started watching people drop off like flies. Either they went to the prison system or they went 6 feet in the ground.
So my question is, you take that lifestyle and how do you get to where you are now? Successful businessman, a loving father, and an entrepreneur. How did you, what triggered the switch?
Forgiveness, man.
And how did you come about that forgiveness?
Well, like I said, I started to make a name for myself in the music game. And that's when I knew I had something. Mm-hmm. I got a call from a detective one day who was actually studying. They were looking out for my game. Mm-hmm. And he called me. He picked up my CD from a tattoo parlor, and I had my phone number on the CD. He got my number off the CD and called me. Hey, man, I've been bumping. This is Detective such and such. I've been playing your CD. I'm like, click, hung up the phone. He calls right back. I answer the phone. It's one Sunday morning. I'm just I got a hangover. I'm on the couch at a friend's house. And he said, listen, this is Detective such and such. I know you think this is a joke, but it ain't. I'm letting you know that I've been playing your music. It's vulgar. It's real. And I like it.
He liked it.
He liked it. He said, I wouldn't do all the cussiness. He said, but I know you really live this because we've been watching you. Here's a word of advice. Follow your music and leave those people that you're hanging with alone. Because if not, we're coming in that house that you live in. We already got a few of them. We're coming for you next. If I was you, I would do the music and leave the streets alone. When we got off the phone and made up my mind that I was going to leave the streets alone, that was the start. But my music was still vulgar. My music was still about blame, shame, criticizing. So I continued to do my music, started making a bigger name for myself, started getting paid shows, and just taking off, man. Touring with some established people at the time, recording songs with. I even recorded a song with Freeway from Rockefeller Records, one of Jay-Z's artists.
And I'm not even too sure who Freeway is. If he's in Rockefeller, that means,
he was with Rockefeller back in the day. But I did a song with him. Anyway, I got to this point where it's like, oh man, I'm taking off. And then my kids were born. And then I just got to a point where I was feeling numb on the inside. I was attending all of these parties, being around all of these people. I was out in Hollywood at the MTV Music Awards. I'll be in Atlanta at the BET Hip Hop Awards. And I would be at Pamela Anderson's birthday party. I mean, you name it, I would be in the scene. And then one time, I remember thinking, is this it? Everybody that was around me at the time, I felt like they were around me because of who they thought I was going to be or who it was just fake to me. And I just wanted to find myself. So in 2000, I think it was 2010, I came off tour. My last show was in Ogden, Utah, and I just wanted to sit down and spend some time to myself. And that's what I did. I turned my cell phone off, deactivated my Facebook account, and just sat to myself, discovered The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, where they were talking about the law of attraction, and I was like, it rang true to me.
So you went into isolation.
Isolation. I put myself into isolation. I realized that, if you don't take time out, life will make you take a time out, either through sickness, through death, or through solitary confinement of some sort. And I said, you know what, I'm going to put myself in isolation. I'm going to put myself in time out. So I did that, and I just started tuning inside of myself, closing my eyes, sitting and facing my own thoughts, my own anger, my own rage, my own frustration. And studying the law of attraction is a basic principle. What you think about, you bring about. But I wanted to go deeper. I started studying neuroscience and how the brain works. What happens when the brain is impacted by some kind of event. That
as a high school dropout, you're studying these things.
Yeah, I'm studying these things and I'm understanding it. It's not, I've dropped out because I was bored. If they would have taught me about myself in the beginning, cool. Tell me how powerful I am and how I can become powerful, more powerful, and use these things. So that's what I started to do, and I just started to educate myself on myself, and I started meditating. Went inside of myself and started calming my mind. One day in meditation outside, I just felt the weight of the world lift off of me, and I cried like a baby as I forgave everything. I mean, I didn't try to do it. It just happened through meditation. I forgave my father. I forgave life. I forgave the guy that ran his Jeep in my face. I forgave my mother for driving the car. I forgave the world. And I experienced what I call pure bliss, man. Like just uninterrupted happiness. Just the purest of childlike happiness that any adult can experience, I feel like. And it was through meditation. Just quieting my mind, sitting still. And I vowed to meditate in some form or fashion every day. And I've been meditating. Now I've been meditating for about 6 years every single day.
And it's been working for you.
It is the only thing that I can count on. Wow. The only thing. So from 2011 January to January 2012, I experienced 100%, and you might think I'm joking, 100% uninterrupted happiness every single day. I became and I didn't have any money. I didn't have two nickels to rub together because I walked away from music. I decided to never go back to that. That was a part of the streets that I didn't want to represent. I didn't want that energy. I didn't want to talk about those things. I didn't want to be affiliated with the industry. I just wanted a whole new start, and I realized that I could create myself anew. I can train myself to be who I wanted to be. I can deprogram myself to reprogram myself, and that's exactly what I started to do.
And you found the inner happiness.
I found that inner happiness without a dollar in my pocket. I found that inner happiness. I wanted to be happy before I wanted to be rich. Wow. Because I realized that happiness was riches.
And I feel like that's the right order.
It's the right order. A lot of people want to think the money will make them happy, or the girl will make them happy, or the car, or the house. All of that's fine. I'm not one of these guys that say don't do any of that. I'm one of these guys that say get happy first, and then build your physical reality on top of that, because it's going to add to it, man. You know, you can take everything away from me right now. I'm still going to be happy, bro. I'm still going to be happy because I know I create that. I know I generate that inside of myself. So once I got happiness and overcame my years of depression, I started In Soul Radio, which is now Self-Mastery Radio. But I started that as a way to help other people that were just like me at one point. Wow. Or that are worse off than I was. Somebody that's actually looking for something other than what is commonly available to the average individual. You know, that you yourself as an individual, I know people have been telling you for a long time that you need something outside of you, whether it's an institution or whatever. But I'm here to tell you that you as an individual are powerful because you are life itself. You are powerful. I don't know about anything else, but I know you are powerful. Wow. You just got to know you're powerful enough to be willing to program yourself, to condition yourself, because the world is trying to condition you anyway. Every single day you wake up, the world is trying to sell you something about yourself and the world around you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Robbie, for this interview. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir.
And I will be letting them know about your Self-Mastery Radio. So thank you once again for coming and joining us.